Welcome to episode 12 to Missing Billionaires. Today we're quickly just going to dive in. Something obviously what came across, I think it was on the internet. And it was a topic that came up which was really interesting to me and for us that we stumble upon a lot. And one of the biggest things is, what do you do for people that don't like you? How do you react to that? What are your reactions to it? How do you respond to that type of behavior? First and foremost, I'll describe what the type of person that doesn't like you is, and then I'll describe the type of person that responds in different ways, how they approach it, and how that person either comes above it or swoops to the level of that person. So I'll start with the person that actually doesn't like you, and it's a pretty broad, but I'll be a little bit more specific with a few examples. So one, I would say people sometimes will be in front of you, especially in today's digital age that we live in, would state they just don't like you. In some cases, they project that because of themselves not liking them, of who they are and where they are in life. But I think that's a really easy scapegoat for us to kind of, say, hey, let's excuse their behavior because they don't like themselves. I think we should go a little deeper to that and ask ourselves, why do they essentially do what they do? How come they state they don't like you? Honestly, I came to the conclusion of this, and I've obviously heard somebody say it, and I was like, I really delve deep into what it is, their behavior and their behavioral patterns are and where it comes from. It's simply, they just have too much time in their hands. Honestly speaking, most successful people that you see are people that have achieved high level or fulfilled high level things that were the aspirations or things that they put on their board or their vision board and they accomplish. They don't swoop down to that level, depending on how successful people are, right? You rarely see billionaires going after each other. If you really think about it, how many financially successful people go after each other? I'm not talking about the people that make millions. I'm talking about the people that have achieved ultra success. How people actually come after each other? Well, there's a few things to that. One is because they don't have time to do that, right? At the smaller scale, the people that you grew up with or the people that you see that come across of you and you hear them gossiping about you, and then you actually hear about it, I think there's two sides to that. One, the person that's talking about you has too much time in their hands, right? Clearly, they're too fixated to talk about you because they don't have time to fill in to something else, right? If they were really passionate about something and they're striving for something, especially if it's for a good cause, they don't have even the heart or the audacity to talk about somebody in a bad light. If they had judgment, they reserve that judgment for themselves, right? Right? Because one, from an Islamic perspective, the one that doesn't want to speak out loud and publicize or go to other people about somebody else is because of their judgment is because there's taqwa, there's fear of Allah, there's consciousness of God, knowing that there's a creator that's watching you. Even if you state something bad about somebody and think that, and you literally got away from saying it, you still have God watching you, Even in a different perspective, you still have you watching you, right? You invested so much time in somebody else's failures or success that at times are portions of you talking about so many people that you lose identity for who you are. Some catch it, and then some, when they look at themselves at the mirror, they shun away from it quickly because they know where they're at. Spend too many years talking about other people that they lose control for who they are. Again, how do you identify that problem? How do you diagnose that problem? Well, think about your time. What are you using your time for? You come back from work, let's just say even if you do have work, but let's say let's just even giving them benefit of the doubt, say they do have work and they got a job, come back from work, and then you project all your anger and frustration to somebody else because the time from 9 to 5 is your frustrations that's been building up, but your 5 to 9 is nothing else but just talking about something outside of what you're doing. Right? So to me, I don't think it's just a lack of, excusing them for, they just hate themselves and they're just projecting. It's just because they have enough time in their hands. Now, for those that listen and hear those words coming to them, right? There are people that approach it where, we come across of it saying, hey, you know what? Let's swoop down to their level and start talking about them. Right? What does that say about you then? How do you start responding? If you start responding the same way they do, then even if you haven't started it, and let's just say you're quote unquote innocent, right? You can't victimize yourself if you're doing the exact same thing as they're doing. Right? So what that tells me too is both parties have enough time. And this is why you see bickering for a long period of time because they have a long period of time for themselves and other people. The point is, I think clarifying who you are and what you're trying to get to is one thing, but another part of it is investing that time into yourself and building what it is that you're trying to get to, right? There's steps to how you're trying to get to, like for me, for instance, I envision myself getting to certain places in my life, but there's a point where I can't see myself getting there if I continue to be fixated on what other people are saying. And it just drags me backwards and if I'm taking 10 steps forward, I'm taking 100 steps back because I'm too fixated what that person's talking about. And then you start identifying the person saying they have just too much time in their hands, rather than, contributing to a good cause or educating one another about something that they're interested in. Like sharing ideas is one thing, but then sharing and understanding what both parties are striving for is really important. When you share conversations about what other people are doing, then what is that level of intellect that you have? Not only for the person that's initiating the conversation that constantly does it, but for you responding to it and contributing to that conversation as well, right? If you really go back, I know everybody has been, we've all stumbled in a scenario where we've talked behind somebody's back. Actually really ask yourself, was it because did I hate the person, or is it because I had a lot of time to talk about the person? All right? There are tactics that the devil has, and a big part of the tactics is manipulating yourself to waste your time, right? If you're wasting your time, and the devil uses his tactics to block you envisioning yourself to other years from now, or at least days or weeks from now, the devil has won in that moment, right? Because you're just so fixated in the moment. Go with the flow. In other words, is I don't really have anything to fill my time in, right? The only time I really have and to use my time is just talking about other people, right? Now, you may be thinking, how about those gossip pages that make millions of dollars off of talking about other people? Well, let me tell you something. Most of those gossip people, or they have gossip pages, and they have platforms that talk about other, celebrities or what they've been doing, and those things. Yeah, they're monetizing it, but as much as I told you, just because you specialize on something that makes you millions of dollars doesn't mean it's good money, right? Again, I've said this before, you can specialize yourself doing something so bad that you became such an expert about talking about other people that you made a business out of it. It's not about how much money you have. Sometimes it's about how you get it too. There are people that make millions of dollars off of talking about other people and having stories and sharing those stories that are negative, that perpetuate negative stereotypes to certain groups of people, or contribute to, the dysfunctionalities of families and certain individuals that are struggling and not helping them. Just because you know and you specialized on that and you've built a skill set and it's not really a talent at all, right? Doesn't mean it's good. You could be good at doing bad things. You could be good at lying, which is a bad thing to do. You could be good at talking behind somebody's back, which is a bad thing to do. And you can make money off of it. That's the reality of this world. But God has given us choices. And it's up to you to take the option of, here's these millions of dollars, but you have to compromise who you are as a human being by talking about people around behind their back or hiding behind the screen and commenting on different people's platforms, right? And it's sad because there are people that do that for free. They don't even make money off of it. There are people that do that just for free, for their satisfaction, to think, yeah, I got them. And I can close this phone and tell myself I feel better because I've made the other person feel bad. But per se, you're still coming down to reality because that time still goes by. It's a temporary feeling that you have, a dopamine hit for anything that, is related to it. But then it always vanishes. That's for anything, right? That dopamine hit of taking drugs, that dopamine hit of getting attention, that dopamine hit of talking behind people's backs. It's just time. And really, how do you value your time properly? And if you're not really, if you lose your identity in the process of that, then again, somebody will still start, their stories will either make you or break you. And some of us, we look at people's stories and we just get so envious of it that we start hating because we start projecting ourselves and our failures to them, right? And that's not fair to yourself. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and, society leverages fear, but one of the biggest fears that society leverages is the fear of accountability, the fear of being comfortable being alone, and being happy with where you are and striving for something, being purposeful and fulfilling and grinding to that point and being proud of what you're doing, even if you're not getting the reception that you imagined, but being proud of what you're building, right? You put that clip that is putting out positivity and contributing to your community and helping others. You're proud of yourself, even if you're not getting the feedback that you want, but still somebody's listening, somebody's taking it in. Somebody that 1 or 2, 3, 4 people are taking it. And maybe you're thinking millions of people that are supposed to be tuned in. It's okay to have those goals. But it's even worse when you're just doing it for the numbers because, again, you start to lose yourself and then you start to take 100 steps backwards and you become the people that used to talk about saying, you shouldn't be talking behind people's backs. You don't want to put yourself in that position at all. Because what happens when you're building something and then you fail, and then you give up? Now there's a whole chunk of time that you were investing in. Imagine you're putting in hours of creating a podcast, creating a platform, and it's a running. Now you have ideas, and you're just flourishing through those ideas and brainstorming, using that time, and every waking day you're thinking about it. But then, let's say you give up. What happens to those hours? What do you use those hours for now? Now those hours are going to be implemented and pointing out those hours to people that are in the position of what you imagine yourself being, and the only difference between you and that person is that person didn't give up. That's the only difference, right? So then now you're in the other end of that, and you're projecting your lack of perseverance to them, because now not only do you have the failures within you because you gave up, but because you have the time to do it. Use your time wisely. That's what I always tell myself. I have to use my time wisely. Every waking day is like, what do I do? What's my idea? How do I brainstorm my ideas? What do I have to write down? How do I use my notes properly? You know, what am I, how am I dreaming? Why I shouldn't limit my dreams, right? And if I am looking at somebody else's success, it's because for market research, I want to know how they did it, rather than, tearing them down and saying that you shouldn't be doing it because of, for other reasons besides inspiring and encouraging yourself, right? So you have to start talking to yourself and be honest, Talking behind people's back can be a disease too, right? But the worst part of that disease is it's contagious. There's some diseases that are not contagious, right? They don't attach to other human beings. But talking about other people can be really, really contagious. Why? Because you're in an environment of people talking about other people. You're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with, right? There's a saying of that. And if you're in the sum of 5 people that are just talking about other people, and that's all they do, guess what you're going to end up doing? You're just going to be ending up talking about those people too. And people take pride on that, right? There's collective groups of people that come and just talk about other people. And I'm telling you, there's not even a business being shared, and there's no ideas of doing that. If you're in a panel of, let's just say, in any social media platform, and you're just talking just to talk, and there's no contribution, if there's not an informative conversation to have that can break barriers for people, then what are you doing? You're just wasting time. That 2 hours that you had, you could have used to you can educate yourself, go on YouTube and watch some videos that can help your business or your brand that you're building, rather than talking to people that don't really understand your goals at all. And sometimes you can get stuck on it because you can be manipulated by thinking, oh, those people, they're on social media, they're doing the same thing as me, but rather they don't have goals. And that's reflective on you too, because you're limited on your goals too. A dream without a goal is just a dream. It's entertainment. It's a movie for you. You're just watching a movie, but the movie is just you're the main character of that movie. But the problem is you're not moving anywhere in that movie. You have no storyline. You have no plot line. It's just a boring movie that you just keep rerunning in your mind. And then there's other characters in that same movie that are doing the exact same thing. They're just sitting down. Imagine you watched a movie and all you see is people just sitting down in their chair doing absolutely nothing. Is that a boring movie? Yes. And sometimes you can manipulate yourself and have those same quote-unquote dreams that you have, but with no goals. You're just sitting on a chair and it's just entertainment for you. And you just keep talking about something that's not going. Right? What makes a great film, because there's a plot, there's a climax, there's an ending, there's plot twists, there's a good story, there's good character, there's the ups and downs, there's the hero's arc, and then there's a villain, and then but where are you? Where's that movie for you? But your movie either is you sitting idle in a chair, right? And you're just waiting for whatever you're waiting for and manipulating yourself. Oh, I have a dream, and this is a movie, but I am sitting down doing absolutely nothing. Or which is worse, is you're in somebody else's movie, and you're just an extra in somebody else's movie. You're just that extra that just keeps running around doing absolutely nothing. And that just goes back to the people that just talk behind other people's back. You're an extra in somebody else's film. This is metaphorically speaking, by the way. I don't want you guys thinking, oh, this documentary is flying, I should make a documentary and I should sell it to Netflix. That's not what I'm trying to say. This is metaphorically speaking. What is your story? It just keeps going back to what I always talk about. What is your story? But sometimes you could just become an extra in somebody else's, and that's a problem, right? And there's already, there's challenges of being, there's the main character syndrome and having the film. And once you reach a level of success that God starts testing you with, now are you grateful? Are you being open to helping others and whatever, right? That's a whole set of challenges in itself. But in today's topic, we're talking about being an extra and talking about other people and their main character, of them being a main character of the movie, however that is, whether they're the villain or the hero or whatever. But because you're an extra, you shouldn't be. And because you have so much time in your hands, you're okay with it. The worst part of investing your time in other people's story is being okay with doing it. It just goes back to what I always say. The worst part of making a mistake is not knowing you're making the mistake anymore. You're not even holding yourself accountable for it. You're just looking at every decision that you're making and being not even confronting it at all because of the fear of knowing that, hey, internally I know this is wrong, but I have to rationalize it with myself. And if anybody comes in front of me and tells me about it, how are you going to talk to me about something that I've been doing for years? And that goes back to talking behind somebody's back, right? For those that are, stuck and continuously talking about somebody, right? Look at your environment, people. Are they doing the same thing? And if they are, you need to learn how to disconnect or at least distance yourself from them, right? Have a safety measure with that. And secondly, what are you doing with your time? Which is really important. What are you actually doing with your time, and how are you investing that time into yourself? And then also creating those opportunities for people that are looking for answers and helping them and inspiring them as well. Because your words matter. Your story matters. If you want to be the main character, you have to be gracious about being in that position. God has gifted you that, right? Don't be an extra in somebody else's film, because one day you will get fired. And once you get fired, then what? So I'm going to end my podcast over here at this point in this episode, and for us to be, to reassure ourselves to be mindful with our time and continue to build something that is meaningful for you, your family, and your legacy. Inshallah. I'll see you guys next episode.